Unlike the female flowers, male flowers frequently come in large clusters. You can see a group of them just underneath some leaves. The male flowers can be identified by the single stalk in the center that's going to bear all of the pollen. When you look at them underneath, you also don't find an ovary, just a simple long stalk that holds them up far away from the stem.
Male flowers arise at nearly every node along the length of a vine. You'll see most of them blooming closer to the hill. So you'll have to mark those and make sure you can find them again. They won't be quite as easy to find as the females if they bend down underneath some of the leaves, because these will be closer to the center of the hill in the deep growth. Here we see a male flower peeking out from beneath some leaves. You can see that it's on the long stem. There's no ovary underneath, so classically the male flower. In order to prepare that for pollinating early tomorrow morning, we're going to take a clothespin and simply attach it to the end of the blossom to keep it from opening up. And it's going to drop down out of sight. It's sometimes very good to make sure we mark where these blossoms are so we can find them again in the morning.
Female flowers grow very close to the vine. You have to find them underneath the leaves. You can tell a female flower pretty quickly because inside you'll see this large stigmatic surface, and if you look underneath the flower, behind the petals, you'll see the swollen ovary, which will become the fruit once the flower is pollinated.
Female flowers open progressively from the center of the hill and then outward from there as the vines spread. So look for new female flowers opening and being ready for pollination on the edge of the growth each day. A female flower like this late in the afternoon has already been exposed to bees and is probably pollinated. We're going to have to find a female that's showing some yellow color to the petals, but they have not yet opened. This female flower is premature. It's hardly developed, it's not very large yet, and we don't see the petals expanded very much. This is not one we would want to mark for tomorrow. This female flower hiding in the grass here is ready for pollination tomorrow. The corolla of petals is very much expanded, the ovary is very large, it's extending away from the stem, and it's certainly going to be ready in the morning. In order to prepare it, I'm going to use a clothespin on the end of the petals to keep them closed until I'm ready to open it. That should do the trick and keep the bees out. I also like to use a stake of some sort to help me find that flower when I come around in the morning, because sometimes it's easy to lose track of where they are.
Now I'm going to demonstrate how to actually make a cross-pollination. I've got a female here that has been kept closed overnight with the clothespin and a couple of male flowers, and I'll just demonstrate how it's done. It's about 7 in the morning. Squash pollination is usually done pretty early on, and I'm going to use 2 male flowers. That's not necessary if you've got good pollen ones, frequently plenty. And so what I'm going to do is open up the female, and you can see it opens up wide, and the stigma down inside is pretty visible there. And what I'm going to do is now open up the male, taking off the clothespin, and I'm going to turn it into a little paintbrush. I'm going to peel off all of the petals, and so that I have the base of the flower, and then I also have this stalk upon which all of the pollen structures are there, and there's some pollen coming. There's a little bit coming off on my hand, so it's definitely ready. And I'm going to reach into the female flower and basically paint this loose pollen onto the stigma, making sure to gently coat the entire surface as best I can. And that ought to do. And I'll show this one more time. To open up the male flower. In this case I'm using 2 because I'm making half sibs. There are 2 different male plants being used for this particular cross. So there'll be all the seeds in this particular fruit will be from the same mother but have 2 different fathers. Okay, again, go in there and paint onto the stigmatic surface. And I can see lots of pollen just rolling all off of it right now. So it's very, very well covered. That should do. Then I'm going to take my clothespin and close this back up again because I don't want bees coming later this morning with other pollen from other flowers. And carefully close up all the petals and clamp it shut. And what I will do next is take a small piece of flagging tape and I will tie about 8 or 10 inches of it in a loose knot right around the base of this, or the handle of what will be the stalk, if you're used to that term. I'll tie it loosely because I'm not sure just how big this one will get, and I want to make sure I don't cut it off later, but I'll mark it in bright orange. Then I'll know when it's time to harvest that this was in fact a flower that I had carefully hand pollinated. And that's pretty much the job. Mark them and then harvest the marked fruits later separately from any unmarked fruits, which can be for eating but not for seed saving. And as we open up those fruits, we'll be saving seeds from the marked fruits, cleaning and drying those, and